Good afternoon, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well. Hey, it's important that I date this particular message. So today is the 22nd, 12/22, and the reason for that is because some people are probably traveling about this time or thinking about it, preparing for it or whatever, and some people have already begun. But I'm going to share with you all today some things that I have been sharing on my Substack live streams that I've been doing quite often over the last several weeks, about 3, maybe 4 times a week. I didn't really plan to do that. It just kind of turned out that's what I started doing, and hadn't done one in a few days on there, so nobody's missing anything there, if they're missing anything at all. But yeah, I haven't been on YouTube in a while either. I didn't get another strike or anything. Honestly, I just didn't have much to say, or not much I wanted to say on YouTube. So because they already punished me before, and it's just like who wants to be punished all the time, right? And so I can't share a lot of the things that I'm saying on Substack to YouTube because they won't let me share the links. I can share clips, which I do as much as I can. I pick and choose which clips I want to share. I mean, they send them to me, and I can download them all, or I can just review them and then pick and choose which clips I want to share. And that's pretty much what I do, because there's certain things that don't come out well, or things that I'm like, nope, I don't want to share this one again. Things that are said, let's just put it this way, that are unedited and uncensored on Substack that won't be on YouTube. And there's certain subject matters that I get pretty impassioned about, and some people might even say, worked up, or whatever the case may be. And that's probably very true. So there's certain things I'm just not going to share on YouTube from Substack, but I'll share as many clips as I can when I do the Substack streams and whatnot. But as far as being able to share links and whatnot, they want you to go through this, YouTube wants you to go through this verification process that I don't really want to do. It's not that important to me, to be honest with you. And I'm tired of jumping through hoops, and I really don't care that much. If they let me put out messages, I'll put out messages from time to time. If not, whatever. Substack isn't as nearly as censored. They don't have as strict of rules, as YouTube, and I can go live there, which I like doing, because like the last live I did not post even to Substack, because when I went back to review it, I'm like, actually when I was doing it, I'm thinking, I'm not sharing this one. I'm not sharing this one publicly. Nope. The 12 to 20 people, whatever it was, that joined me live, they got to hear it all, unedited, uncensored. All my rhetoric, my being worked up, impassioned, whatever people want to call it. They got to hear it live, in your face live. Everybody else, nope. I was like, I'm not sharing this one, because it probably could have got me in a lot of trouble. And and I've already been down that road of veiled threats and censorship, like a lot of people have, and having your channel taken down, and and getting strikes, and being I guess just say censored, for lack of a better term. I was thinking of something else, so I'm not going to say it. Censored. I'll just stick with that. And but it's important that I date this one, because I digress, but because of the fact that a lot of people are traveling or thinking about traveling or what have you. Well, I wasn't going to share this on YouTube. I really wasn't. I mean, I thought the last one I did, the last message I put out, the church is out of order, I thought that pretty much said it all right there. I really do. I mean, I kind of preached in that, I mean, honestly. And I'm no preacher or anything of that nature, but I kind of did. And I thought that was it, man. Honestly, I really did. I thought, I think I'm done with this. I didn't I say anything to anyone or announce anything. I think I might be done with this. I don't know, and so I hadn't said anything for quite a while. I've shared a lot of posts and whatnot, and like I said, I can't really share links. I can share certain videos to a certain extent. A lot of things I can't share. It's just, like I said, it's all part of the punishment, unless you go through the verification process and all that jazz. So I thought that was about it, but something happened earlier today that made me rethink some things, and it made me go back in time a little bit, go back in history from about 5 years ago to where we all were about 5 years ago, and even beyond that, maybe even a little earlier than that, like around December 2019, maybe something like that. So it made me rethink some things. What happened was I was in a building and I heard over the intercom an announcement that all staff must now wear their mask. I'm like, wow. So I happened to be there for that particular announcement that all staff must wear their mask. Well, several days before that, I received some information that I shared on the Substack but didn't share to YouTube. I just didn't feel led to, and I really just, I just didn't. I figured if people want to come over to Substack, they can. I've shared the link many times, how to get over there, on the Substack channel. I've shared many clips where people can, go to my Substack page and, and see what I post there and listen to the live streams that are downloaded or uploaded or whatever, or even join me live, with, like I said, about 12 to 20 other people. When I do go on live, emails are sent out to people to inform them that I'm about to go live. So that's a pretty cool thing for them to do. But when I heard that announcement, it immediately brought me back to like 2019, 2020. I'm like, here we go again. But most recently, the information that was shared with me was two things I'm going to share with you all. You take it, leave it, believe it, don't believe it, whatever. I'm going to share with you two things that I think people need to be made aware of. And especially this season, this particular season time frame from, the 25th to the beginning of next year. It's two things, okay? One is, I was informed previously that something was going to be released, like a lot of people were, if you have been paying attention. If you subscribe to the right channels, or you look at the things that I look at, or review or research, or you go to my community page, you see the things that I share there, then this is not going to catch you off guard. But they have released, they're in the process of releasing or have released something new. It's not as bad as CV, okay? And some people say it's the H2N1, this and that. Some people say it's the norovirus. Some people say it's adrenovirus. It's whatever. Whatever people want to call it. It really doesn't matter what they call it. What matters is that it makes people sick. Not as bad as CV from what I understand. But this particular thing that's being released now, there are travel advisories from the people in the know saying don't travel. You don't want to be in airports. You don't want to be in any enclosed spaces as much as possible. So no airport terminals, no train stations, no malls, nothing that doesn't, malls have nothing to do with travel. But when you think about enclosed spaces where people are constantly sharing germs, coughing, sneezing, hacking. Some people cover their nose, some people don't. Some people wash their hands, some people don't. I mean, the bottom line is the stuff is being released now. And while I was in this building, I heard that announcement. And, you saw people go for the mask immediately. I mean, very well conditioned, very well trained. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if everybody's wearing a mask, one, I'm not going to wear one anyway. But if everybody's wearing a mask, why do I need to wear one? And if you want to breathe in your own carbon dioxide or whatever, that's your business. But if everybody's wearing a mask, if you're talking to somebody, they're wearing a mask and you're not, then you're fine. because they're protected from you and you protected from them. But they wanted everybody to wear the mask. It's the same old, right? And it just brought me back to all of this mask hysteria. And even before that, I don't know, about a week or so ago, I saw this woman in her car by herself wearing a mask. So they have trained people, preconditioned people, like Pavel's dog to a certain extent, ring the dinner bell and, and everybody starts salivating, They have really trained people very well to follow the rules, regulations, whatever else. Rewind the clock 5-6 years ago and we're back there again. So my advice to people, my suggestion from what I've learned, and I'll get to the second thing in a second, is if you can avoid it, don't travel. You don't want to be in metal tubes in the air. You don't want to be in trains. You don't want to be in airport terminals, train stations, anything of that nature, planes, trains, and automobiles kind of thing. You don't want to be doing that. If you can avoid it, if you can help it. And I know people are like, well, I have non-refundable tickets and I don't know if I can get out of it. And my family's depending on me and this and that. And I've had these plans for the longest time. Listen, I'm aware of all that. People contact me and they tell me they're traveling or their family members are traveling or this or that. They try to talk them out of it and they can't and blah, blah, blah. I get it. It's the same old. People have been dealing with this year in and year out for many years. I get it. I understand. People are going to do whatever they want to do. What I'm saying is, if you know of people who are traveling or plan to travel or whatever else, you might want to protect yourself in a major way. Be prayed up, prepped up, plead the blood of Jesus, the Holy Spirit, discernment, the whole nine yards, man. I mean, because this is bad. It presents like, it's not as bad as CV, but it presents like walking pneumonia. And I was talking to someone about this that's very familiar with this, and they said, yeah, that's exactly what it presents like, is walking pneumonia, bronchitis, severe bronchitis, just very horrible upper respiratory illnesses. That's what it presents like. So, not as bad as CV. I don't think it's going to knock people on their butt for months or weeks, or weeks or months. They have to be quarantined and all the rest of that stuff. It's just enough to dampen your travel plans. Okay? And it's starting now. And that's why I'm putting this message out now, is to inform everybody that it's starting now. Okay? So I don't even know what I'm going to call this. I don't have a title for it yet. I don't want to be like panicking and alarming and saying urgent or whatever, But let's just say public service announcement. Maybe I'll just call it that, public service announcement, because it's starting now. And then the other thing people might want to be aware of, especially if you're traveling, you have friends or family members or whatever that's traveling, is no guarantees, no promises of anything. And I've shared a lot of this to the Substack, like I said, off and on over the last several weeks or whatever. But to prepare for there possibly to be some kind of an attack on the homeland between the 25th and the 1st of the year. Now, I don't know what kind of attack. I don't know if it's chemical. I don't know if it's biological, radiological, nuclear. I have no idea. I don't know if it's terror related. I don't know. But prepare for that possibility to occur between the 25th and the 1st of the year. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But that's the information I was given. That's what was sent to me. And I'll tell you this one last thing that really leads me to believe that's a good possibility, is I told people this on a Substack. I might have mentioned it on YouTube, I'm not sure. But back in November, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and this is a friend that has a prophetic gift. And when they don't just call me up to say hi. I mean, they're friendly in that way, but they also have important information or they want to share something. And what they told me was, at the time, they pray a lot. And I think they receive a lot from the Holy Spirit in their prayers to warn them of impending things. Sometimes it's a personal thing, It may not be necessarily negative. It's just to inform them that to watch for something, that to be prepared at a certain time. And they said that they got the date December 19th in their spirit. And they asked me, does December 19th mean anything to you? Well, this was back in November, prior to Thanksgiving. I want to say it might have been early November that I got this call. And at the time, I was thinking that December 19th was the release of the movie Leave the World Behind. A lot of people might be familiar with, the ones the Obamas produced and all that jazz about, end time events and just some very scary stuff, very prophetic, scary stuff that seems like could be happening pretty soon, maybe. I mean, I don't know if people are paying attention that much to the news over the weekend or whatever, but it sounded like, the self-driving cars were having some issues. Dabu 777 reported that and he even said in his video, that it kind of reminded him of the movie Leave the World Behind when the self-driving Teslas went haywire, and I mean, so I don't know. I don't know. I just find it interesting and intriguing. And then, of course, December 19th, that was the date that at the time, I don't think I knew this. I don't think he did either, that the whole files were supposed to be released, but that was a joke. Everybody knows that was a joke. That was ridiculous. And most people could have predicted that was going to be ridiculous. But all the Epstein files were supposed to be released that day, unredacted, and we're supposed to get the truth. And yeah, right, whatever. On and on it goes, right? And then it was the 3-Eye Atlas thing where I was supposed to be closest to the Earth, and, that seemed to be much ado about nothing overall. Some weird weather happened around that time, even in my area. Very strange, tornadic-like activity. Transformers went out, power outages, things of that nature. A lot of atmospheric flooding that had been going on. I don't know if it's continuing in Washington State, down the West Coast and so forth. A lot of earthquake activity, swarms of earthquakes in California and so forth. So there was a lot of weather activity that might still be happening now. I really haven't checked. But other than that, it seemed to be like much ado about nothing, just some weird weather anomalies, so. But the main thing is, and we talked since that time, and I told him, I said, I think December 19th, I think the reason you got December 19th in your spirit was because of Operation Hawkeye Strike, or whatever it's called. I think it's called Operation Hawkeye Strike, which a lot of people may not be familiar with, but what happened on December 19th is we retaliated against Syria, and for the death of the two soldiers, Sergeant Howard and Torres, I believe, and the interpreter, the CIA or American interpreter or what have you. That happened on the 13th. And then on the 19th was Operation Hawkeye Strike or whatever, where we retaliated against Syria. And I think that will have ramifications. And the interesting thing to me about that is prior to that happening, or prior to the soldiers that were unfortunately killed in Syria, I had talked about the Dimitri Duduman prophecy and so forth, from 1984, from so many years back. And because we were talking a lot about Venezuela, and that's still obviously in the news. They continually, detain, tankers, oil tankers, seize tankers and whatnot. I think they've done 2 more now. One of them might have been belonged to China, or I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of stuff, but I don't know the facts on all of it. I'm just hearing a lot of stuff. But regardless, it appears that these operations are continuing, seizing things and whatever else. But this Operation Hawkeye Strike on Syria, like I said, when I was doing my Substack stream prior to the 13th even, I said, it appears Venezuela is one of those nations that Dimitri Duduman couldn't remember that would, align with the other nations of the world to attack America. It appears Venezuela might be one of the nations. And I said, I don't know what the other one might be. And I just kind of threw it out there. I said, I don't know if it's Syria, Iran, North Korea. I don't know. Any of them would make sense to me. And at the time, I wasn't really thinking much about Syria because Syria really hadn't been in the news too much. And I really wasn't focused on them. But then I started sharing things from Professor John Mearsheimer, and he was on Judge Napolitano's channel, being interviewed by him and so forth. And I started to really pay attention to what this military strategist, this professor, is saying out of the University of Chicago, and a lot of the things that he is putting out on his YouTube channel, and it's fascinating to me because it's all war strategy, military strategy, geopolitics, and so forth, about what's happening now in the world and how it's going to affect the different nations, America, but as well as other nations. And now I'm seeing all this, and now you have Syria in the news and everything that happened with, first them killing the soldiers and the interpreter, and now the retaliatory strike. And that happened on December 19th. So I told my friend, I said, I think this was it. I think this is what you had in your spirit, because I think there's going to be, more regarding this. I don't think it just ends with this retaliatory strike. I think there will be ramifications, just like there will be ramifications for, stealing the oil, okay? Basically saying that things belong to you that don't belong to you, kind of thing. That's basically what our policy is, it appears now. And then another friend of mine told me about, how they were listening to Pastor Ben Faircloth's message from several months ago called Avalanche. And in that message, it was talked about how the United States would no longer get away with stealing. That when we steal, basically, like in the Middle East, they cut your hand off when you steal, okay? And, in certain Arabic countries or what have you, so we won't get away with stealing anymore. People say, what are you talking about? We've already stolen like 3 tankers and gotten away with it. Not really. Not necessarily. It may seem that way. But we're not done with the year yet. Now, I don't know if anything's going to happen the rest of this year or not. What I'm telling you is it appears that whatever virus is being released, or that was planning to be released, is being released now. And it appears that we could have some type of an attack on the homeland before the end of this year. It may be on the 25th or after. It may be on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve or before. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just telling you what has been sent to me and what I've been able to review and listen to from people in the know, the so-called experts and whatnot. I don't know any of these people personally, but it does line up and it does make sense. So I'm simply putting this out so people can be made aware. That's all this is. It's the same thing I've talked about on the last several live streams I've done on Substack, that I've shared clips for. I share links when I can, but mostly clips, so people can kind of get an idea what I'm talking about, what this is about. Melanie King is another person. I may not agree with everything she's saying doctrinally, biblically, but, when it comes to her information that she's putting out, I think she's doing a very good job reporting and researching and, talking about a possible upcoming draft of, within the next year, maybe sooner, I don't know. But now women are involved. 18 to 26-year-old women can be drafted now, where that wasn't the case before. But now with the new legislation, the new laws being passed and so forth, women could actually go to war now. Now, would they be on the front lines in combat? I do not know. They may have, other positions that don't put them directly into combat. But I do not know. There's a lot of things to consider here as we go into 2026. A lot of things people need to be aware of. Like I've mentioned before, you might want to start having those hard conversations with your family, with your grandchildren, your children, if they're within that age bracket, to just inform them, to be prepared in every way, just to be prepared, because as things go down, and what the geopolitical experts, people in the know and whatnot are talking about is it, and I mentioned it before, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any let up in 2026. Matter of fact, Michael Snyder just put out an article I shared to the Substack, wouldn't let me share the link to the YouTube, about the drumbeats of war, where there's so much happening throughout the world, so many different theaters of war, for lack of a better term, the drumbeats of war, and most people aren't paying attention. They're not hearing the drum beats. They're hearing jingle bells, That's what they're hearing this time of year. It's hard to get people to focus on what's important and focus on anything outside of, this holiday season or what have you, because that's what they're hearing. I think I got a title now. We basically, you got the drum beats of war versus jingle bells. Yeah, that's my title. Because that's pretty much what's going on. And if you look at Michael Snyder's article and read that article, you'll understand there's a lot more happening geopolitically and within other nations than most people are aware of. I learned a lot by reading his article, because there's a lot more happening than I was even aware of. And I try to stay pretty up on this stuff, but there's so much going on, it's very difficult to. So, anyway, I think that's about all I wanted to say. The main thing to wrap up here, to summarize, is they're releasing or have released something. So, do not surprise if people just start getting really, really sick around you. And hopefully you or your family aren't one of them. And, be prepared for a possible attack on the homeland, between the 25th and the 1st of the year. Those are the two main things. But pay attention to what's happening. I know there's a lot of distractions out there. There's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm not saying you have to be like glued 24/7. You can't. You can't. You have to have fellowship. You have to be with friends, family, whatever else. You have to live a normalized life, fellowshipping with other believers, in the Word, being encouraged through live streams, or, wherever people fellowship and gather and get together. Be encouraging to others and let others encourage you, and so forth. So you have to be human, but at the same time, be aware of what's happening and what's going on. That's my suggestion and advice. Just be situationally aware. Just pay attention. Don't focus on it, and don't be fearful. Don't be scared. Just pay attention and be aware, and make right and good choices and decisions. Be led by the Holy Spirit, and just that's basically about it. And as much as you can, if you have time off, enjoy that time off. If you don't have time off or whatever else, enjoy it if you can. But at the same time, be wise, be smart, be disciplined, get some exercise if you can. The weather seems like it's going to be very warm in certain areas, even though we're technically in winter now. You wouldn't know it. 50, 60 degrees. It's crazy. It's supposed to be very warm this whole week, for the most part. Then get cold again on the weekend. I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy, crazy weather. So as much as you can, get out and enjoy it. Be grateful and thankful for it. It's kind of weird, but be grateful and thankful for it if you're able to, and get out and enjoy the weather as much as you're able to. All right, I think that's it. I think I got on long enough, said everything I needed to say. It's about a half an hour. It's about what I try to usually do. It's about as long as you can keep people's attention anyway, if that long. So, all right, y'all take care. Be blessed. Have a great rest of your day. And I might talk to you again on this channel. I might not. I really don't know. I really don't. I thought the church is out of order might be the last one, but I really felt like I needed to inform people of this. All right, y'all take care. Be blessed. Bye-bye.